Welcome to Sweet Tea Channeling. I'm Debbie Pokornik, and with me is my co-host and our gifted channeler, Susan Hoskins. If you are new to these calls and find you have questions about what we are doing, we strongly encourage you go back to June of 2023 and listen to the introduction from one of those calls. We outline everything for you there. You might also find that listening to those channelings provides a helpful foundation for whatever comes through for us today. In a nutshell, we are creating Hoomadhi, a reality filled with compassion, understanding, and delight, right here where we live, right now. We have already opened sacred space for all of us, but we ask that you take a moment before starting to center and ground yourself with a few deep breaths and call in your guides to help you pick out the most relevant pieces from our conversation for you personally. Let's begin with a question for our wonderful guide, Christopher. Christopher, what is the next thing you want us to know about creating Hoomadhi?
The most important thing for you to know now is how important it is to flow with Hoomadhi. And what we mean by that is this is a brilliant consciousness of love and oneness and joy. And as we've talked about before, being fully present in the moment. And once you are fully present in the moment, then you can flow with Hoomadhi to wherever the journey takes you, which we can tell you will be one of great purpose, fulfillment, and abundance as you learn an entirely new way of living in peace and unity with one another, sharing your talents and gifts in a way that provides benefit to others and great blessings to you. You will learn that you need never fear about your sustenance, your abundance, your wealth of prosperity. And by this, we do not mean that your intent is to stockpile money, for that is of the old consciousness, but rather to learn to live in the total abundance of this universe, of this entire planetary system that is available to you now and in every moment, if you are in the flow of Hoomadhi, living with full intent and purpose every day, every moment. That is what we would like you to focus on.
That is lovely. I'm wondering if there's anything more you can talk about helping us to build that trust. I feel like that's a challenge for a lot of us to fully trust, say, in abundance when it might not have been our reality in the past.
We love the question, and we understand that you are coming from the consciousness that tells you an entirely different way to live, wherein you're in competition for the scarcity of money, and you must build it and stockpile it and store it away so that no one can take away your good. So what we would say is, just again, imagine you're climbing into the beautiful boat that will take you down the river. It is the consciousness of Hoomadhi. Intend very clearly what you want in this moment to sustain you, to nourish you, to fulfill you. And then as you intend, ask that you see the manifestation of it every single day, even if it is in small quantities of appreciation. And the more you can do this and know this and appreciate it, the more your eyes will be open to see the true prosperity and abundance in your life. And the more your heart will be open to receive more and more. So we would ask you to begin to trust in small increments in the day, in the moment where you find yourself. What is it you need and desire this day to sustain you? And that is where you begin to understand and learn the trust. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it absolutely does. That intent is so important.
That is an opening your eyes to see it and to experience. So many of you choose to think it must show up in a certain way, in a certain time, in a certain lump sum, rather than seeing it simply manifesting as you require it, as you intended every single day, until one day you look back and go, ah, there it is. It was there all along. It has been building, it has been accumulating. And again, we would ask you not to focus on what you think might be the amount of money you require to guarantee your security, but what is your intention and need in this moment to know you are perfectly well nourished, taken care of, and prospered every single day. Does that make sense, or is that confusing?
No, that makes total sense. It means be in the moment, right? Versus in the future thinking, oh, how am I going to pay that bill or how am I going to do that? Instead,
Correct.
focusing on the now.
Correct. It means focusing on the brilliance of the abundance in the now, in the moment, rather than dwelling in the fear that there will be scarcity in the future. That is what we would like you to focus on.
Thank you, Christopher.
Mm.
Well, every different way we
Mhm.
hear that piece of information to really live in the now,
Mhm.
focus on what you have right now,
Mhm.
the more it helps us to just really trust.
What I, again, it's so interesting to be channeling it and appreciating it at the same time. It's really kind of interesting. But
Yes.
what I was going aha about is the fact that I believe what we're being led to understand is that truly living in Hoomadhi, one day we will know and understand what it means to be sustained by simply sharing our gifts with one another and
Mhm.
by allowing the universe to sustain us in all other ways. But our reality right now is living in a society that requires currency, that requires money. And to me, I was seeing that Christopher was addressing that in Hoomadhi right now, that you begin with the clear intention of what you want to sustain you, and then you appreciate that it's there. In
Yes.
other words, you appreciate all the abundance that already is, and by so doing that, you open yourself up to receive even more. And it may not be a sum. We always like to have a sum in our mind, but it will be every bit enough to sustain you as you open yourself up more and more to receive more. That's kind of what I was appreciating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and I do think that there is so much there in that intention piece, and it can be very difficult for us to always be aware of our intention.
Mhm.
Right. If I come at something and I think, okay, my intention is that I have enough today to feed me, to clothe me, to get me where I need to go, to pick up whatever I need to pick up without ever thinking about how am I going to get this back,
Mhm.
it has a whole different feel to it, a whole different flow.
Well, and again, what I'm feeling is Christopher was inviting us to leave behind the old consciousness of scarcity.
Hmm.
And that's not an easy task because that's what we've been conditioned to believe. We have to do certain things to provide for the future because God knows what could happen in the future where you'd need it. And that's what we're really being asked, I think, in Hoomadhi, to begin to leave behind. As we don't intend from a place of scarcity. We intend from a place of vision of what we believe in this moment would best nourish us and help us to thrive. So
Hmm.
I think there's a lot to play with there as to the difference in how we begin more and more to let go of the old ways of scarcity thinking.
Exactly. You know, it's interesting. It's making me really think of a conversation that I had just this morning with someone. We have a new baby in the family, and the mother is a stay-at-home mom, and the father has decided to take a full year paternity leave. He did this for the second baby as well. And he might have even done it for the first one. I'm not sure. However, all I know is that he started to, from that, get into a conversation about whether or not that was an okay thing to do.
Hmm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, those young years with the new baby, it's just so beautiful. You can't ever get that back. Right. And then their other kids are like 3 and 6. Okay. So it's just all, to me, it's a beautiful time for him to be off and to
Mm.
be enjoying that. And yes, it means they have to live on less. So they're not saving up, let's say, for the future, but they're willing to do that. And the person who I was talking to was saying, how much time do you need? Really, the mother's at home. So my point is not to judge what that person is saying or the situation, but to me, that is living in the moment and saying, I'm going to take full advantage of this time.
Oh, I love that. To me, that's living in Hoomadhi because
Yeah.
that is living with the full definition of what abundance is. And as you said, you can't get that precious time back. There's plenty of time to go back to work, but not plenty of time to enjoy the moment with that precious baby. So I
Exactly.
see part of the fun we're going to have with this is playing more and more with how we bring that heart set into Hoomadhi in our lives, right where
Yes.
we're at.
Yes. Absolutely. And the little flip side of that is also not judging that person who is saying those things because they are spouting what they have been led to believe throughout their whole life. And so I feel like we get a lot further by just saying, well, it's an interesting thing. I mean, money is nice, but that time with those kids is so much more, can help to open that other person's eyes if in fact they want their eyes open.
Right.
Right. So there's that piece in Humadi as well, not falling into that trap of thinking that, well, I live in Humadi. You know? You obviously don't. Because in that moment, I'm not in Humadi anymore.
Right.
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 Yeah. Yeah. So we have decided that we want you to have this channeling to really play with and think about. We are going to take it and transcribe it and take the nuggets out, and then we're going to do more sweet tea treats where we just pull out one nugget, talk about it, explore it, play with it, bounce it around a bit, and keep the videos nice and short for people that
I
are
love that.
watching.
And I'm looking forward to doing it with this because I'm anxious to see what gems we come up with of ways to incorporate this channeling into our lives right here, right now. to make a difference.
Yes. And those are the kinds of things we want to share with you, and we would love for you to be sharing with us. Ready to join us live on these calls? Send us an email at info.hoomadhi, that's HOOMADHI @gmail.com. We'd love to have you play with us.